Greetings, chess people. I come to you on this beautiful winter coffee-filled morning to share with you a game from our weekly Swiss tournament. Delightful. Now this game is between Falcon 8000 and Coffee Kills 21. We see this from Coffee Kills 21's perspective because he was our first place winner, winning a 1-month diamond membership. So play in our tournaments and you might win a 1-month diamond membership too. But let's get right into it. This is a very exciting tactical game, which is why I chose it for this video. Knight f3, d5. We could go into 100 things from here, but let's just keep going. e4, you don't see this every day. This is called the Tennison Gambit. Now once black captures, white is going to jump with the knight to g5. Obviously hoping to recapture this pawn. Black decides, okay, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like it, and let's please just have a normal game, and he plays e5. Other options, we could see knight f6, defending the pawn, and from there we would really just see some natural development from white. Bishop c4, for instance, attacking that weak square. Why is it weak? Well, it's defended once by the king. This pretty much forces e6, blocking vision of f7, right? We could also see bishop f5, defending the pawn, and again, natural development. Knight c3, knight f6, offering up another pawn, and maybe a provocative move like this, offering up yet another pawn, hoping to grab b7 or this bishop. Maybe queen c8. This could go a lot of ways. Okay, let's see what happened in the game, right? e5. Like we said, please, just a normal game. White says, well, no normal game, I'm going to give up another pawn. Now, white has vacated his squares next to the king and the rook. He can castle, he's got 2 pieces in the game. It's looking like, you know, these 2 pawns have led to some pretty rapid development. Okay, h6. This is our first miniature puzzle here. There's an excellent move by white. Let's see if you can find it. Pause the video and do your best. Okay. Queen h5. Hitting f7 once again. This pawn's pinned. Look at that. So, you know, if this is captured, free rook. Well, not a free rook, but a rook for a knight. Now, white doesn't see this. Perfectly fine. We see an equally, well, we see a provocative move that that blasts the position open for black. Very uncomfortable. Now, after the king takes, this is uncomfortable, right? I mean, you lose your castling rights. You have to somehow get your king to safety. White is ready to castle, get that rook into the game, and now here comes the queen. Queen h5, check. Once the king moves over, this center pawn falls with check. Black does his best to keep the position together. After white castles here, we see a natural knight to c6, kicking that queen back to g3. This is a good place for the queen. It's going to put long-term pressure on g7. So that'll become important in a moment here. Knight f6, hoping to develop normally. Knight c3, good stuff. And here we see king e8. It's very tempting to put the king back to a square where it feels familiar, right? But there's a better move here. That move is king f7. It's very awkward looking because we were just on f7, then we moved here, now we're moving back. It doesn't make sense, right? But it has to do with long-term pressure on g7. So when the king is on f7, it's defending this pawn, we can move this bishop out to do something with its life, right? To be a part of the game. You have a material advantage. Let's get your pieces into the game, start counterattacking. So this pawn is defended by the king now, but instead we see king to e8. Okay, rook d1, threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries. Whenever you have a rook lined up with your queen, it's bad news. You gotta get out of dodge. Now, instead of getting out of dodge, maybe with queen e7, defending the pawn, breaking that alignment, we see bishop d6, attacking the queen. Now, the problem with this is what was previously mentioned, that long-term pressure on g7 is now relevant because this pawn hangs now. And then the queen will be attacking the rook, and it's bad news, right? However, these players are really blitzing these moves out. We're on move 12. White's used a minute. He shifts over to e3, attacking this bishop. This actually gives black an incredible tactical opportunity that I will now let you pause. My cats are fighting. I will now let you pause to find. Go ahead and see if you can find it. Black to move. These cats are violent. All right, did you find it? Check this out. Boom. Bishop takes h2. Check. Now, white cannot take this bishop or it's game over. It's game over. Oof. Brutal, right? Now, Falcon with the white pieces understands this. He moves to f1. King to f1. Now, what we needed to see was something like queen e7, defending this piece, right? Instead, the bishop comes back. Ooh, unfortunately, this hangs a piece with check. Will you cut it out? These cats are violent, I tell you. Cut it out. Maybe I ought to stream the cats fighting instead. Okay. Black says, please, 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 please trade queens. It's equal material. You know, I can deal with this. Trade queens. Let's just have a nice normal game. But white is on the attacking side, and he doesn't want to trade queens. Whenever you're attacking, you don't want to trade queens. Just a rule, right? So he throws a check in. Bishop to g6. And after the king moves, gets his queen out of dodge. Now look, this rook can come into the game. These pieces are well placed. It's looking good, right? Black says, please, 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 pretty please. Please. I want to trade. Material's even. Please? But white says no. Back goes the queen. Now, black blunders here, unfortunately. He wants to take a hold of this file, but... Kids. One moment. Get out of here. Go. Sorry about that. Children, you know? So... this piece hangs, unfortunately. And after the queen takes, it's looking pretty good for white. In comes the knight, hoping to trade, attack some pieces, trade down to an endgame. In comes the other knight to attack the queen. Queen shifts to b3, attacking this weak pawn, right? But now all of a sudden, black's pieces have some purpose. We're motioning towards the king side here. We've got control of this file. This could be okay for black. We'll see what happens. We trade a pair of knights. Again, black wants to use this knight in an attack. He's not going to bring it back. b7 falls, as expected. Rook h7. Now this is another opportunity for tactics. What do we think here? It's white to move. I know the board's backwards, but you're a chess player. You'll figure it out. What is white's opportunity here? This piece is free because this pawn is pinned. Rook h7 allowed this tactic. Unfortunately, white does not see this. He grabs another free pawn. Both players still blitzing out pretty good, right? Now, rook e7. Okay. Now we have a rook controlling this file. Now the queen can move, do something useful. Maybe come in here, right? Let's see what happens. Bishop e3, finally moving that bishop off its original square. Connecting the rooks. It's good, right? Now there is a ridiculous drawing line here coming up. First we see queen b5 check, king g1, and now the ridiculous drawing line that takes some, I don't know, 6 moves. Black's down material. If he wants a draw, he has it. How does he do this? Bishop h2 check, king h1, queen h5, setting up all sorts of discoveries, right? Queen a8 check. We've got to deal with this, right? So the rook comes back, but now white's rook comes in. Double attack, right? Of course, it's still defended, but you know, we can get another rook into this game here. Now black has to take on f2 with check, and after we recapture, we have a perpetual, essentially, no matter what, right? You could see how that leads to a draw. But if the king ever gets to f1, oof. Even though this piece is pinned, it still does its job, supporting the queen in a delightful checkmate on e2. So let's go back. Instead of that, we see knight takes e3, removing the bishop, giving us some awkward pawns here, kind of opening up the king a little more on the dark squares. And bishop c5, attacking the queen and this pawn here. Queen a8 check, rook e8. This is starting to look a little familiar, isn't it? Here comes the rook. This is exactly what we had before, except instead of the queen being on h5, it's on b5. So, still defending the rook, keep in mind. Bishop takes, and unfortunately, we have mate in 1. Wonderful. Now, how do we avoid mate in 1? The only other move, because remember, this is taken, this is taken, this is our checkmate square. What's the only other move? King h2. Now, this is actually a draw. It might seem a little ridiculous, because after queen h5, we actually bring our king up the board, which is not natural, because look at all these nasty pieces, right? But this is the only way. And now, if white ever goes this way, we get some nasty business with discoveries aplenty. So, white has to repeat. And it's a draw. However, in the game, we saw king h1, which leads to mate in 1. Excellent tactical game by both of these players. Tennison Gambit. I'm really glad it was not the old Benoni defense this time, because I already have 2 videos on the old Benoni defense. If I had to make a third one, I would be sad. So, I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Keep calm and chess on. I'm going to go make sure my cats don't kill each other. Take care.